How to make your mind obey you. The secret of discipline. There is a version of you that already knows exactly what to do. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should stop scrolling. You know you should exercise. You know you should finish the work you keep postponing. You know which habits are destroying your focus, and yet you still don't do what you know you should do. Why? Is something wrong with your motivation? Are you lazy? Do you lack willpower? No. The real problem is much more interesting. Your mind has learned that your commands are negotiable. You say, I'll wake up at 6. Your mind says 5 more minutes. You say, I'll work for 1 hour. Your mind says, let's check the phone first. You say, I won't eat that. Your mind says, just today. And then you obey. Not because your mind is stronger than you, because you have trained it to believe that your instructions don't have consequences. And this leads to the first secret of discipline. Your mind learns from what you repeatedly do, not from what you repeatedly promise. Think about that. Every time you make a commitment to yourself and break it, your brain receives information. You don't consciously say, I don't trust myself, but your behavior says it. You tell yourself you're going to work. Then you watch another video. You tell yourself you're going to exercise. Then you stay on the couch. You tell yourself you're going to sleep early. Then it's one more episode. One decision doesn't change your life, but hundreds of repeated decisions create an identity. Eventually, your brain stops treating your promises as instructions. They become suggestions, and suggestions are easy to ignore. So if you want discipline, don't start by trying to become extremely motivated. Start by rebuilding one thing: self-trust, because discipline is not simply forcing yourself to do things you hate. Discipline is teaching your brain, when I give myself an instruction, I follow it. That is the skill we are going to build in this video. And by the end, you'll understand why some people seem to have extraordinary discipline while others constantly fight themselves. The difference isn't that disciplined people never feel resistance. They feel resistance too. They simply stop treating resistance as a vote. Your brain can complain, your body can complain, your emotions can complain, but the decision has already been made. That is the difference. Now let's go deeper, because before you can control your mind, you need to understand what your mind is actually doing. Imagine this: you wake up in the morning, your alarm rings, you open your eyes, and immediately your brain presents you with two options. Option 1, get out of bed. Option 2, stay warm, check your phone, watch something, think about the day, maybe get up later. The second option feels better immediately. That is the trap. Your brain is constantly comparing immediate rewards with delayed rewards, and immediate rewards are powerful. Your brain doesn't naturally care about the person you want to become 5 years from now. It cares about what feels good now. That is why scrolling is easy, exercise is harder, eating junk food is easy, and in life, preparing a healthy meal requires effort. Avoiding difficult work is easy. Starting difficult work creates discomfort. Your brain is not necessarily trying to ruin your life, it is trying to reduce discomfort. And if you keep rewarding that behavior, your brain learns. Whenever something feels uncomfortable, escape. That's a dangerous lesson, because almost everything valuable begins with discomfort. Learning, training, building a business, studying, writing, saving money, having difficult conversations, changing your lifestyle. None of these things consistently feel good at the beginning. So the goal isn't to eliminate discomfort. The goal is to change your relationship with it. Instead of saying, I feel uncomfortable, so I should stop, you learn to say, I feel uncomfortable, and I'm still continuing. That sentence is extremely powerful, because every time you act while your emotions are telling you to stop, you strengthen a different neural pattern. You are teaching yourself, discomfort does not control my behavior. And that is where real discipline begins. Not when you feel motivated, when you can act without motivation. But there is another mistake people make. They try to control everything at once. Monday morning arrives, they decide, I'm changing my entire life. They wake up at 5, exercise for an hour, read 50 pages, meditate, eat perfectly, work 8 focused hours, no social media, no sugar, no distractions. By Wednesday, the system collapses. Then they say, I have no discipline. That's not necessarily true. The problem may be that they tried to build 10 new behaviors before they had built one reliable behavior. Imagine going to a gym for the first time and trying to lift the heaviest weight in the building. Failure wouldn't prove that you're weak. It would prove that your starting weight was stupid. Discipline works the same way. Start smaller than your ego wants, much smaller. Instead of saying, I will exercise for 1 hour every day, say, I will do 5 minutes instead of, I will write an entire chapter. Say, I will write one paragraph instead of, I will never touch social media again. Say, I will wait 10 minutes before opening it. Why? Because you're not just completing a task, you're collecting evidence, evidence that you can command yourself. This is one of the most important ideas in the entire video. Small promises kept repeatedly are more powerful than huge promises kept occasionally. Your brain doesn't need dramatic speeches. It needs proof. Proof that you are becoming reliable. Let's say you decide to wake up at 6:30 every morning. Don't make the goal. Wake up at 6:30 and immediately become productive. Your first goal is simply, when the alarm rings, my feet touch the floor. That's it. No negotiation, no checking notifications in bed, no asking yourself whether you feel tired. The alarm rings, feet on floor. You have just completed the first command. Tomorrow, repeat it. The next day, repeat it. After several days, something interesting happens. The action begins to feel less like a debate. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to win an argument with yourself every morning. You want to remove the argument. The fewer decisions you need to make, the easier discipline becomes. This leads to the second secret. Don't rely on willpower when you can design your environment. If your phone is next to your pillow, you're going to use willpower to avoid it. Why make life harder? Put the phone across the room. If snacks are sitting on your desk, you're going to use willpower every time you see them. Remove them. If your workout clothes are buried in a drawer, getting dressed requires another decision. Put them where you can see them. If your work environment is full of notifications, interruptions, and entertainment, you're asking your brain to fight temptation for hours. Change the environment. A disciplined person isn't necessarily someone with unlimited self-control. Often, they are simply someone who has fewer unnecessary battles. Think about a professional athlete. They don't wake up every morning and ask, should I train today? The decision has already been made. That is the advantage of a system. You decide once, then you execute many times. Now let's talk about the most dangerous word in the vocabulary of an undisciplined mind. Later. Later sounds harmless. I'll do it later. I'll start tomorrow. I'll fix it next week. I'll save money next month. I'll exercise when work becomes less busy. But later is not a time. Later is often an escape hatch. It allows you to experience the emotional relief of making a decision without experiencing the discomfort of executing it. You say, I'll start tomorrow. Immediately, you feel better. The guilt disappears. The pressure disappears. You feel as if you've solved the problem, but you haven't. You've only moved the problem into the future, and tomorrow arrives. Then you repeat the same process. This is why procrastination can become addictive. The moment you avoid something uncomfortable, you get a tiny emotional reward. Your brain learns avoidance works. So we need a different rule. When you notice yourself saying later, ask, what is the smallest version of this task I can do right now? Not the whole project, not the perfect version, the smallest version. Open the document, write one sentence, put on the shoes, walk for 5 minutes, wash one plate, transfer a small amount into savings, make the phone call. The objective is to break the spell of postponement. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates more action, and action creates identity. Now imagine two people. Both want to become healthier. Person A waits until they feel motivated. Person B follows a schedule whether they feel motivated or not. Person A has amazing days. They exercise for 90 minutes. They eat perfectly. They feel unstoppable. Then they have a bad day. They do nothing. Person B exercises for 20 minutes. Sometimes they feel great, sometimes they feel terrible, but they continue. After 6 months, who has changed more? Usually the person who was consistent. This is why consistency beats intensity. Intensity feels impressive. Consistency produces results. You don't need to dominate every day. You need to stop disappearing from the process. One bad day isn't the problem. The problem is turning one bad day into a new identity. You miss Monday. Fine. Tuesday, return. You eat badly at lunch. Fine. Dinner doesn't need to become another disaster. You waste an hour scrolling. Fine, close the app and restart. Never allow a mistake to become permission for another mistake. This is another rule. Never miss twice. You don't need perfection, you need rapid recovery. Now we're getting closer to the real secret, because discipline is not about saying no all day. It is about deciding what deserves a yes. A person who has no direction must constantly fight temptation. A person with a clear objective has something to protect. Imagine two people sitting in front of a television. One has no important goal, the other is preparing for an exam that will change their career. The television is the same, the room is the same, the temptation is the same, but the meaning is different. The second person has a reason to get up. That is why you need a target that matters. Not a vague goal like, I want to improve my life. That's too weak. Make it specific. I want to become financially independent. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to build a business. I want to become excellent at my profession. I want to be able to support my family. Then ask, what kind of person would naturally achieve this? This question changes everything. Instead of, how do I force myself to study? Ask, what would a serious student do right now? Instead of, how do I force myself to exercise? Ask, what would someone who respects their health do right now? Instead of, how do I stop wasting money? Ask, what would a financially disciplined person do with this paycheck? You're no longer negotiating with a temporary mood. You're acting from identity. Your brain loves consistency. When your actions repeatedly match a certain identity, that identity becomes easier to maintain. If you repeatedly wake up and exercise, you start seeing yourself as someone who exercises. If you repeatedly save money, you start seeing yourself as someone who protects their future. If you repeatedly keep promises, you start seeing yourself as reliable. And once an identity is established, behavior that contradicts it becomes uncomfortable. That's exactly what we want. At first, discipline feels like, I have to force myself. Later, it becomes, this is simply what I do. That's a completely different psychological state. A smoker who quits doesn't merely need to resist cigarettes forever. At some point, they need to stop thinking, I'm a smoker trying not to smoke, and begin thinking, I don't smoke. The identity changes the internal conversation. The same principle applies to discipline. Don't constantly tell yourself, I'm trying to become disciplined. Start collecting evidence that says, I am a person who keeps promises. But there's a problem. Your old habits won't disappear quietly. They will fight back. You may decide to wake up early. For several days, everything works. Then one morning, your brain says, just this once. That's when the real test begins. Not on the easy days, on the day you don't feel like it. Your mind will produce excellent arguments. You worked hard yesterday. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow. Nobody will know. One time won't matter. And technically, your mind may be correct. One time probably won't destroy your life, but that's not the point. The point is the pattern. You're not deciding whether one exception is harmless, you're deciding which behavior you are reinforcing. Every action is a vote, not a permanent sentence, a vote. And the more votes you cast, the stronger the pattern becomes. So when your mind says just this once, answer maybe, but not today. Not with anger, not with self-hatred. Calmly, not today. That sentence creates distance between impulse and action, and that distance is freedom. Now let's introduce one of the most powerful tools you can use, the 5-second rule. When you recognize the correct action, don't give your brain 10 minutes to debate it. Count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Get up, start, open the file, put on the shoes, turn off the phone. The countdown isn't magic. It simply interrupts the automatic thought loop. Because if you sit there negotiating, your emotional brain gets more time to build resistance. Movement changes the conversation. This is especially useful in the morning. Alarm, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet on floor. Don't ask, do I feel like getting up? Ask, what's the next physical action? The question is important because the mind loves abstract problems. Should I work? That's huge. Should I exercise? Huge. Should I change my life? Huge. But can I stand up? Easy. Can I open the laptop? Easy. Can I put on my shoes? Easy. Make the next action so clear that your brain has nothing complicated to debate. Now let's talk about dopamine. You don't need to become a neuroscientist to understand the practical lesson. Your brain learns to pursue things that repeatedly provide quick rewards. Short videos, notifications, games, constant novelty, instant entertainment. These things can train your attention to expect stimulation every few seconds. Then you sit down to read a book. Nothing happens. You sit down to work. Nothing exciting happens. You study. The reward is delayed. Your brain starts asking, where's the stimulation? And you interpret that feeling as this is boring, maybe. But boredom isn't danger. Boredom is a sensation. You don't need to obey every sensation. This is a critical discipline skill. You can feel bored and continue. You can feel anxious and continue. You can feel tired and continue. You can feel uncertain and continue. Emotions are information. They are not always instructions. Read that again. Emotions are information, not commands. Fear can tell you something matters. Boredom can tell you stimulation is low. Fatigue can tell you your body needs recovery. But none of these automatically decide what you should do. You decide. Let's make this practical. Suppose you need to work for 2 hours. Don't say, I must focus perfectly for 2 hours. Instead, create a protected block. 25 minutes. Phone away. One task. No notifications. No multitasking. When the timer ends, take a short break. Then repeat. Over time, extend the blocks. 30 minutes. 45. 60. The goal isn't to become a machine. The goal is to teach your brain that focused work is normal. And during the work block, one rule matters. When you notice yourself wanting to escape, wait 10 seconds before acting. You don't need to suppress the urge. Observe it. There is the urge to check my phone. Wait. Let it rise. Let it fall. Then return. Every time you do this, you practice the skill of not reacting automatically. That's mental strength, not never having impulses without automatically obeying them. Here's another technique. Make temptation inconvenient. Want to stop checking social media during work? Log out. Want to stop watching videos late at night? Remove the apps from the home screen. Want to spend less money online? Delete stored payment information. Want to eat healthier? Don't keep your biggest temptations within arm's reach. Want to stop wasting your morning? Prepare everything the night before. The goal is not to prove how strong you are. The goal is to make the right behavior easier. This is how professionals operate. They don't leave everything to mood. They create systems, and systems are more reliable than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. Motivation says, I feel like doing it. Discipline says, it's scheduled. Motivation says, I'll try. Discipline says, here's the rule. Motivation asks, do I want to? Discipline asks, what did I decide? That is the shift. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine that every promise you make to yourself creates a tiny contract. Nobody else sees it. There is no signature, no lawyer, no punishment, only you. You say, tomorrow I will wake up at 7. Then tomorrow comes. If you keep the promise, the contract gets stronger. If you forget, the contract gets weaker. Do this hundreds of times, and eventually your internal trust changes. You become someone who believes yourself. That is incredibly valuable. Because self-trust creates confidence, not fake confidence, not motivational confidence, evidence-based confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing, I have done difficult things before. I can rely on myself. I don't need someone to watch me. I don't need applause. I can execute when nobody is looking. That's real discipline. And here's the paradox. The stricter you become with small promises, the less force you need for big decisions. Because your brain has learned the pattern. You say it, you do it, you say it, you do it. Eventually, there is less internal resistance. But be careful. There is a difference between discipline and punishment. Some people think discipline means treating themselves harshly. They miss one workout and insult themselves. They eat something unhealthy and feel worthless. They procrastinate and call themselves lazy. That isn't discipline. That's emotional violence. You don't build a reliable mind by constantly attacking yourself. You build it by being clear. If you fail, identify what happened. Did you sleep badly? Was the goal unrealistic? Was the environment full of distractions? Did you make the decision too late? Did you underestimate the difficulty? Then adjust the system. Don't turn every mistake into a personality judgment. Say, the system failed, then improve the system. This mindset is especially important because shame often creates another cycle. You fail, you feel terrible, you seek relief, you escape into entertainment, you fail again, then more shame. Break the cycle. Use responsibility without self-hatred. Now let's build your personal discipline system. It has 5 levels. Level 1, choose one non-negotiable, not 10. 1, Maybe it's waking up at a specific time. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's 1 hour of focused work. Maybe it's saving a fixed amount. Choose one behavior that matters. Level 2, make the behavior ridiculously clear. Don't say I'll work more. Say, at 8, I sit at my desk and work on Project X for 30 minutes. Specificity removes negotiation. Level 3, remove friction. Prepare the environment. Put the shoes by the door. Put the phone in another room. Prepare the desk. Open the document. Make the good action obvious. Level 4, track the promise. Every day you complete it, mark it. You don't need a complicated app. A simple calendar works. The goal isn't to worship the streak. The goal is to see evidence. You are building a record of reliability. Level 5, never miss twice. If you fail one day, return immediately. No drama, no waiting for Monday, no new month. The next opportunity is the next decision. That's the system. System. Simple, but powerful. Now let's take this into a real story. Imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel is 38. He has a good job. He has a family. He wants to improve his finances, get healthier, and eventually build a business. Every Sunday night, Daniel creates an ambitious plan. Wake up early, exercise, work harder, spend less, build the business, read, sleep early. Monday goes well. Tuesday is okay. Wednesday becomes difficult. By Thursday, the plan disappears. Friday, Daniel feels guilty. Sunday, he creates another plan. This repeats for years. Then Daniel changes one thing. He stops trying to fix his entire life. He chooses one promise. Every weekday at 7 a.m., before checking his phone, he spends 20 minutes on the most important project in his life. That's it, 20 minutes. The first week feels almost too easy. The second week, he misses Thursday. Instead of giving up, he returns Friday. After 1 month, something changes. He begins to trust himself. Then he adds exercise, 10 minutes. Then savings, a fixed automatic transfer. Then reading, 10 pages. His life doesn't transform overnight. It transforms through accumulation. And that is what most people underestimate. The future is often built from actions that feel insignificant today. 20 minutes doesn't feel like a new life, but 20 minutes repeated hundreds of times can become one. Now let's examine why people quit. Most people judge progress emotionally. If they don't see dramatic results, they assume nothing is happening. But habits work below the surface. Think about a seed. For days you see nothing. You might conclude nothing is happening. But underneath the soil, something is changing. Discipline works like that. The first week may not look impressive. The first month may not feel transformative, but you are building a behavioral foundation, and eventually the results become visible. This is why you should measure the process before measuring the outcome. Don't only ask, did I lose weight? Ask, did I train today? Don't only ask, did I become wealthy? Ask, did I follow my savings plan? Don't only ask, did I build the business? Ask, did I complete today's focused work? Outcome goals tell you where you're going. Process goals tell you what to do today, and today is where your power exists. Here's a dangerous thought. I'll be disciplined when my life becomes easier, but life rarely becomes permanently easier. There will always be another problem, another deadline, another unexpected expense, another difficult conversation, another tired morning. Um, if your discipline depends on perfect circumstances, you don't have discipline. You have favorable conditions. Real discipline is built in imperfect conditions. That doesn't mean ignoring exhaustion or health. Rest is part of discipline. Recovery is part of discipline. Saying no is part of discipline. But there is a difference between legitimate recovery and emotional escape. You need to learn that difference. Rest says, I am recovering so I can continue. Escape says, I am avoiding what I don't want to feel. Both may look similar from the outside. The difference is intention. Now, I want to give you a mental exercise. The next time you experience resistance, don't immediately fight it. Name it. I don't want to start. Then ask, what exactly am I resisting? Maybe it's uncertainty. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's the possibility that your work won't be good enough. Maybe you're not resisting the task. Maybe you're resisting the emotion associated with the task. That's a huge distinction. Someone may say, I hate writing, but perhaps they don't hate writing. They hate the uncertainty of not knowing whether their work is good. Someone may say, I hate exercise. Maybe they hate feeling physically weak. Someone may say, I can't focus. Maybe they are uncomfortable being alone with their thoughts. When you identify the real resistance, you can address it. Discipline doesn't mean blindly forcing yourself, it means understanding yourself well enough to act deliberately. Now comes the deeper level. You need to stop asking, how do I control my mind? And start asking, how do I train my mind? Control sounds like a battle. Training sounds like a process. You don't expect a muscle to become strong after one workout. You don't expect a language to become fluent after one lesson. And you shouldn't expect your mind to become disciplined after one motivational video. This video can give you a direction, but repetition creates the change. Every morning is a training session. Every temptation is a training session. Every difficult task is a training session. Every promise kept is a repetition. Every impulse resisted is a repetition. Your mind is learning all the time. The question isn't whether you're training it, you are. The question is, what are you training it to become? If every time you're bored, you reach for your phone, you're training your mind to escape boredom. If every time work becomes difficult, you quit, you're training your mind to escape difficulty. If every time you feel anxious, you avoid action, you're training avoidance. But if every time boredom appears, you stay for another minute, you're training endurance. If every time difficulty appears, you take one more step, you're training persistence. If every time fear appears, you act carefully anyway, you're training courage. This is why your ordinary moments matter. Your life is not only shaped by your biggest decisions, it is shaped by your smallest repeated responses. Let's talk about your morning. The first hour of the day is powerful because it sets a behavioral tone. You don't need a complicated morning routine. You need a first win. Wake up, stand up, make the bed, drink water, move your body, do one important task. Then you have evidence. I started the day according to my plan. Compare that with wake up, check notifications, scroll, watch videos, read arguments, consume random information. 30 minutes disappear. Now your brain has learned the outside world decides what gets my attention. Which one would you rather reinforce? Your morning doesn't need to be perfect, but protect your first decisions, because attention is one of your most valuable resources. Whatever captures your attention can influence your emotions. Whatever influences your emotions can influence your decisions, and repeated decisions shape your life. Now let's talk about the phone. Your phone is not evil, but it is extremely good at capturing attention. So create rules. No phone during the first 20 minutes after waking. No phone during focused work. No phone in bed. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Move distracting apps. Use the device intentionally. You don't need to throw your phone into a lake. You need to stop allowing it to make every decision for you. The question isn't, can I resist my phone? The better question is, why should my phone have access to me whenever it wants? That changes the power relationship. You own the device doesn't own your attention. Now let's go into money, because financial discipline follows the same psychological principle. Imagine you receive your salary, your mind sees a large number. Immediately, there are temptations, a new device, a nicer restaurant, a trip, subscriptions, clothes, entertainment. You tell yourself, I deserve it. Maybe you do. But if every increase in income creates an increase in spending, your financial situation may never fundamentally change. The disciplined approach is different. Pay your future first. Automate savings. Set spending limits. Create separate accounts if necessary. Don't depend on willpower at the end of the month. Make the decision when your mind is calm. This is the same principle. Decide once. Automate repeatedly. The same brain that struggles with exercise can struggle with money. The same solution applies. Clear rules, low friction, automatic systems, consistent execution. And now we reach a crucial distinction. There are two kinds of freedom. The first is freedom from rules. The second is freedom created by rules. At first, rules can feel restrictive. Why can't I just do whatever I want? But consider the alternative. If you do whatever your impulses demand, are you really free? If your cravings decide what you eat, if your phone decides where your attention goes, if your emotions decide whether you work, if your spending impulses decide where your money goes, if your fear decides what opportunities you avoid, then your life is being controlled. Discipline creates another kind of freedom. You choose the rules. Then your impulses don't get to rewrite them every hour. That is freedom. Let's create a personal command language. Instead of, I hope I exercise today, say, I exercise at 6:30 instead of, I should probably save more. Say, on payday, I transfer this amount instead of, I need to stop scrolling. Say, social media stays closed until my work block is complete. Instead of, I want to read more. Say, I read 10 pages before entertainment. Notice the difference. The first statements are wishes. The second statements are instructions. Your brain handles clear instructions better than vague intentions. You need fewer motivational speeches. You need clearer rules. But don't create too many rules. If everything is non-negotiable, nothing is. Choose a few principles that matter deeply. Maybe I keep promises to myself. I protect my mornings. I finish important work before entertainment. I spend less than I earn. I train my body regularly. I don't let one mistake become two. Those principles become your internal operating system. Then individual decisions become easier. You don't have to ask, should I do this? You ask, does this match the person I decided to become? That question can save you enormous mental energy. Now imagine your mind as a powerful horse. You don't become a better rider by screaming at the horse. You create direction. You train consistently. You reward the correct movement. You don't let the horse choose the destination every time it sees something interesting. Your mind is similar. It has impulses, curiosity, fear, desire, comfort seeking, novelty seeking. You don't need to destroy these things. You need to guide them. A disciplined mind isn't an empty mind. It's a trained mind. It can experience desire without obeying desire. It can experience fear without obeying fear. It can experience boredom without obeying boredom. That is the skill. Now I want to challenge you with something. For the next 7 days, choose one promise, only one. Make it so small that you almost feel embarrassed by how easy it is. Maybe 10 push-ups, 10 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of focused work, one healthy meal, 10 minutes of walking, 5 minutes of meditation, one savings action. Then make one rule, no negotiation. When the moment arrives, you execute. Not because you feel like it, because you decided. And when you're finished, don't immediately increase the goal. Repeat it. Let your brain experience consistency. You're building trust. After 7 days, you can increase the difficulty slightly. Not dramatically, slightly. This is how you train obedience. Not by screaming louder, by becoming more consistent. At some point, you'll encounter a strange feeling. You'll notice that the task you once avoided is no longer such a big deal. You won't feel excited. You won't feel inspired. You'll simply begin. That's progress. The absence of drama is progress. When discipline works, it becomes boring, and boring is good. You brush your teeth without needing a motivational speech. You don't celebrate every time you turn on a light. The behavior is automatic. That's the destination, not endless self-control. Automation. You want the right actions to become normal. Now let's address one final enemy, the fantasy of the perfect future self. You imagine, one day I'll become extremely disciplined. One day you'll wake up early. One day you'll have incredible focus. One day you'll have perfect health. One day you'll be financially organized. One day you'll never procrastinate. That person doesn't suddenly appear. You create that person through today's behavior. The future version of you is not waiting somewhere. He is being assembled, decision by decision, morning by morning, promise by promise. If you want to know who you are becoming, look at what you repeatedly do when nobody is watching. That's the evidence. Think about the person you want to be 5 years from now. Don't ask, what do I want to have? Ask, what does that person do every week? If you want financial security, that person probably manages money consistently. If you want physical strength, that person trains consistently. If you want mastery, that person practices consistently. If you want a successful business, that person produces consistently. If you want peace of mind, that person protects attention and makes deliberate choices. The future isn't created by wanting harder. It's created by behaving differently. And the behavior can start today. So let's return to the question we began with. How do you make your mind obey you? Not by dominating it, not by hating yourself, not by waiting for motivation, not by making impossible promises. You train it. You give clear commands. You start small. You remove unnecessary temptation. You create systems. You act before negotiation grows. You keep promises. You recover quickly after failure. You repeat the correct behavior until it becomes part of your identity. And most importantly, You stop treating every emotion as an instruction. Your mind can say, I'm tired. You can answer, then let's do the minimum. Your mind can say, I'm bored. You can answer, stay anyway. Your mind can say, I don't feel ready. You can answer, start small. Your mind can say, tomorrow. You can answer, no, today. Not with anger, with certainty. There will be days when you feel unstoppable. Enjoy them. But don't build your identity around those days. There will also be days when everything feels difficult. Those days are more valuable because that's when you discover whether your discipline is real. Anyone can act when motivation is high. The real test is what happens when motivation disappears, when nobody is watching, when the reward is delayed, when the task is boring, when the result isn't visible yet. That is where character is built, quietly, repeatedly, without applause. And here's the final secret. You don't need to become a completely different person tomorrow. You need to become slightly more reliable today. Keep one promise, then another, then another. Your confidence will grow. Your identity will change, your habits will strengthen, your environment will become easier to control, your attention will become more valuable, your impulses will become less powerful, and eventually you'll look back and realize something. You didn't suddenly become disciplined. You became disciplined one decision at a time. One morning, one workout, one page, one focused session, one saved dollar, one resisted impulse, one promise kept, again and again and again. That is how you train the mind. So tonight, don't create a 20-item plan. Choose one command. One. Write it down. Make it specific. Decide when you will do it. Prepare your environment. And when the moment arrives, do not negotiate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Move. Because every time you obey the right decision, you are teaching your mind who is in charge. And remember this, you don't become disciplined when you stop feeling resistance. You become disciplined when resistance stops making your decisions. Your mind will always have opinions. Let it. Your emotions will always speak. Listen. Your impulses will always appear. Notice them. But you choose the action. You choose the direction. You choose the rule. And every time you follow through, the message becomes stronger. When I decide, I act. That is self-trust. That is discipline. And eventually, that is freedom. If this video gave you a new way to think about discipline, don't just watch the next video. Take one idea from this one and use it today. Choose one promise, keep it. Tomorrow, keep it again. And if you want more videos about mastering your mind, building powerful habits, improving your focus, and becoming the person you know you can be, subscribe. Because the strongest version of you isn't created in one dramatic moment. It is created quietly, when nobody is watching, through the decisions you make every single day. Start today, not tomorrow, today.